After a fierce quarrel with my arch-nemesis, I was struck unconscious by a falling object. Upon regaining consciousness, I devised a scheme to feign amnesia in order to extort some money from him. "Who are you?" he inquired, astonished to my surprise. He promptly declared, "I'm your boyfriend. We've been together for 8 years. I was left utterly bewildered. "Why don't you give me a kiss to reacquaint yourself with the taste?" What a dog of a man. I was after his money, and he was after my lips. One that I have known Hua-Yi since childhood. At the age of 17, we became bitter rivals. Truth be told, we were childhood sweethearts, an ideal match in every regard, yet we always seemed at odds with one another. This morning, he snatched a business deal from me that was meant to be in collaboration with the Shin family. Fuming, I confronted him at his desk. "Is it that delectable to snatch food from my mouth?" "Hua-Yi, you are the worst." Hua-Yi was seated with his long legs crossed, mumbling something I couldn't quite catch. At that moment, a phone call came through. I answered on speaker and learned that Shen Huichuan had just landed. If I wanted to salvage this deal, I might need to win over Shen Huichuan, especially since we shared a bond from high school. In a fit of agitation, Hui jumped to his feet. "You mustn't go see him. I have something to discuss with you, Yo-Yo." I was too incensed to pay him any heed. "I am going. Who do you think you are to tell me what to do?" Fuming, I stormed out of the Hui building just as a typhoon was about to make landfall, with winds raging outside. As I looked up, a hydroponic pothose plant was blown down from the second floor, striking me on the head. Before losing consciousness, I glimpsed Hui rushing over. A mixture of anger and concern etched on his face. Surely, he wasn't coming to check if I was dead just to seize my business, was he? How ruthless. As my consciousness began to flicker back, the faint scent of antiseptic wafted into my nostrils, followed by the sound of a doctor delivering a medical report. Miss Su is not in serious danger, however. She may have a mild concussion and could experience nausea and dizziness temporarily. She should be monitored closely. Then why hasn't she awakened yet? Will there be any lasting effects? Hui asked, his voice laced with urgency. The doctor explained, Miss Su is merely asleep. So, the one pretending to be unconscious is me. My mind raced. Perhaps I could take advantage of this opportunity to swindle some money from Hui to compensate for the loss of my business. Thus, I resolved to feign amnesia and linger at Hui's residence. While we may not get along, our parents share a close friendship, and the four of them had gone on a trip together. I had grown weary of company food, but the meals prepared by Hui's housekeeper were simply divine. Lost in thought, I involuntarily blinked. Suddenly, I heard a nurse exclaim, "Mr. Hua, Miss Su has awakened." Oh no, I wasn't ready yet. Time to act. Channeling my inner Zhongzi, I opened my eyes, striving to cultivate an expression of naive bewilderment. Hui rushed to my bedside, waving his hand in front of my eyes. "Su Yo-Yo, what number is this?" His hand blurred into a phantom, and I could scarcely discern a thing. Feigning a slight tilt of my head, I said, "I don't know, but who are you?" Hui was momentarily taken aback, then turned to the doctor with wide eyes. "Didn't you say she was fine? How could she have amnesia?" The doctor appeared visibly flustered, nervously twirling a pen in his hand. He muttered repeatedly, "This shouldn't be happening. This shouldn't be happening." After a pause, he finally stated, "The patient has experienced a brief episode of amnesia, but there's no need for concern. She should recover quickly." I smiled at the doctor, then turned to Hui, reinforcing my act of amnesia by asking again, "Who are you?" At that moment, my performance was unparalleled, rivaling even the likes of Xiaogong and surpassing Zhang. Hui, utterly convinced, hesitated before stating, "I am your boyfriend. We've been dating for 8 years and are about to get married." I was left in utter disbelief. Could it be that Hui has seen through my charade and is playing a trick on me? Yet, in the next instant, Hui gently stroked my head. "Yo-Yo, it's all right, I'll take you home." What on earth? Either I was losing my mind or Hui was. I looked at him in astonishment, noticing his reddened eyes, as if he had been crying. Goodness, the typhoon outside must be quite fierce if it's causing him to tear up. Perhaps my shocked expression was too evident. Hui cleared his throat and said, "What? You still don't believe me? How about we share a kiss to reacquaint you with the taste?" Before I could even process his words, I noticed the flush creeping up his ears as he turned his head away, muttering, just kidding, there are people here." I blinked, completely oblivious to the jest. His gaze had been fixed on my lips, and he genuinely seemed eager for a kiss. But here I was, merely craving his money, while he appeared to be yearning for my lips. 2. I am quite alright and swiftly completed my discharge procedures. As I traversed the hospital corridor, I cast a glance at my reflection in the glass. To my dismay, a leaf from a pothose plant clung to my disheveled hair, rendering me a sight to behold. Surely, did not intend to kiss me. He must have been aiming to tease me. "Have you gathered your medication?" Let us return home. Approached me, his windbreaker billowing, his face adorned with a warm, gentle smile that momentarily rendered me spellbound. Goodness, this was the very essence of the boy I once harbored a secret admiration for. When did we transition from allies to bitter rivals? Upon reflection, I recall that fateful year in our second year of high school, when I was 17 and I was but 16. It was also the year transferred to our school. Possessed an innate charm, with high cheekbones and thin lips, and he consistently ranked first in every subject, basking in the adoration of his peers. Naturally, I was the moon orbiting his brilliance. I had advanced a grade through connections, landing in the same year and class as him. He carried my backpack, managed the chores, and even during our physical education class, he would run the 800 meters alongside me after completing an additional 1,000 meters. If you tire, I shall carry you home. Come on. His cheerful encouragement never ceased, and he never displayed anger towards me. It was only natural for a young girl to fall for him. Moreover, I was not the only one. Countless girls at school were enamored with him. Our camaraderie flourished until the midterm examinations. Before the midterms arrived, equally matched within both looks and academic prowess. Rumor had it that on the day transferred, the principal burned several thick incense sticks in reverence. This prodigy was destined for greatness. Just 2 days before the exams, fell ill for reasons unbeknownst to me. Pneumonia had taken its toll. He appeared gaunt, languishing over his desk. My heart ached for him, and I dared not disturb him during breaks, instead staring blankly at the challenging problems before me. As fate would have it, passed by and offered a few pointers, allowing me to swiftly solve the problems, to which I gave him a thumbs up. Indeed, he was a worthy adversary for the youngest in class, still bore the remnants of baby fat, fair-skinned and clad in a cozy little lamb sweater that had gifted me. Perhaps I resembled a pet, for ruffled my hair affectionately. Oh. In a moment of distraction, I did not evade his touch. However, the next instant, I felt a chill wash over me. Upon turning, I beheld slumped over his desk, narrowing his eyes at us. His expression darkened as though he had caught wind of an intrusion. As the afternoon wore on, the skies grew increasingly overcast, culminating in a sudden downpour. The clouds roiled ominously while the rain fell like cascading pearls. When the final bell rang, dashed into the rain without waiting for me. Our parents prefer to keep our family backgrounds discreet to avoid any potential threats, thus we always walked home together. He didn't wait for me, leaving me momentarily stunned until a large umbrella sheltered me from the downpour. I looked up to see. Forgot your umbrella? Come, I shall escort you home. Watching S silhouette fade into the rain left an unsettling ache in my heart. What had I done to displease him? Upon returning home, I stealthily peered from the attic on the 3rd floor into S' study, only to find that he had yet to arrive. Hadn't he left earlier? Why was he still not home? I contemplated descending to inquire, but suddenly, S' figure appeared in my line of sight. He was drenched to the bone, looking as though he had been pulled from a river, appearing somewhat dejected and pitiable. Typically, he would glance my way from his study, but now, he simply drew the curtains, preventing me from seeing him. The following day awaited me as usual, yet he was uncharacteristically silent. I attempted to converse. About yesterday. Accompanied you home, he stated matter-of-factly, taking my backpack and placing it upon his shoulder. Despite his peculiar demeanor, he resumed speaking to me, which brought me some joy. Just as I was reveling in this moment, I glanced up to see at the school gate, smiling in our direction, observed him, then turned back to me. Was he truly so pleased to see him? That day marked the beginning of our deteriorating relationship. For instance, I overheard the school bell mention that she had forgotten her umbrella yesterday, only to have lent her one. It turned out that his failure to wait for me was due to his gallant gesture towards. Additionally, I noticed a good luck charm for successful exams adorning S' hand, rumored to have been procured from. Strangely, just days before his pneumonia, had made an inexplicable trip to. Furthermore, rumors circulated that I was dating. I heard casually remark, "Who is she to me?" Why should I inquire? On the day departed abroad, I was consumed by the melancholy brought on by my strained relationship with. He quipped, "Are you still upset about leaving? I've taken that order from your family." Subsequently, we became increasingly antagonistic, each determined to make the other relent before we could find satisfaction. 3. In the midst of my reminiscences, guided me back to his home. Despite being neighbors, he led me into his abode. I feigned innocence, grasping his hand. "Boyfriend, is this your home? It's truly beautiful." I sensed S' body stiffen behind me, the sunlight casting a rosy hue upon his ears. He turned to face me earnestly, stating, "I am. You have always called me. Could you do so just once more?" I pondered. When did I ever call him? My contact for him had always been stubborn old donkey. Nevertheless, since he wished to play, I would indulge him. Did I ever call you? I find it rather unappealing. How about I call you husband instead? Does that work for you? I may not have triumphed in our business battles, but I could surely vex him. Stood frozen in place, his lips twitching. Ha, did I scare you? To my surprise, a faint smile curved his lips as he bent down and gently embraced me. My wife. Huh? His voice was melodious, and I found myself momentarily forgetting to resist, allowing him to lead me indoors. The villa was desolate, for I had taken a few days off, leaving me bereft of her culinary delights. What a miscalculation. Was in the kitchen preparing noodles. Wife, I've made some noodles for you. Wife, would you like an egg? How effortlessly he uttered the term wife. Was he attempting to humiliate me? Darling wife, there's chocolate on the top shelf of the fridge. I opened the refrigerator to find an abundance of hazelnut chocolates, my favorite flavor. In my childhood, I adored sweets, but my parents forbade them, compelling me to plead with. He always managed to conjure them up. No wonder he frequently brought chocolates to me back then. He must have enjoyed them himself. As I savored the chocolate, I watched in the kitchen, looking even more handsome than in high school, broad-shouldered and slender-waisted, exuding the aura of a male model even in an apron. The chocolate had a slightly bitter taste, inevitably stirring memories of the times he bestowed chocolates upon me in our youth. The steaming noodles were served, with crafting a heart from an egg, while his bowl contained only the leftover scraps. If only I truly had amnesia, I would not have to worry about him drugging me. The portion was substantial, too much for me to finish. Took my leftovers and consumed them himself. Confirmed. No drugs. Later that evening, as I prepared for bed, an awkwardness enveloped the atmosphere. The discomfort was not mine, but rather S. He stood at the bedroom door, flustered and at a loss. This was his bedroom. What was he so anxious about? Moreover, we had known each other since we were toddlers. You'll sleep here tonight, and I shall take the room next door. Should you need anything, call for me, stated. I squinted, realizing he intended to conduct business behind my back. He made a call to his subordinates, instructing them to arrange a video conference with that very day to finalize the contract. I overheard him. I tugged at his shirt. We've been in a relationship for 8 years. Shouldn't we sleep in the same bed? Could it be that my gaze gradually descended, and I whispered, "Could it be that you are incapable?" The corners of Hua Yi's lips twitched, his expression one of restrained annoyance. He appeared displeased, while I reveled in my satisfaction. I swiftly circled to his back, closed the door, and even locked it. Today, no one shall sign the contract. I gazed at Hua Yi with an innocent expression. Hua Yi, will you keep me company while I sleep? He intended to play the role of my boyfriend to monitor my movements and prevent me from signing the contract. I decided to turn the tables and bind him under the guise of a girlfriend. I had no sleepwear, so after my shower, I donned Hua Yi's oversized shirt, emerging from the bathroom with my hair still damp. I feared he might sneak out to sign the contract while I was bathing. Hua Yi remained indoors, pacing in circles within the bedroom. He was confined within these walls, yet his anxiety was palpable, his ears and neck flushed crimson. Ha! Is he flustered because he cannot sign the contract? He glanced my way, and perhaps feeling guilty, his face reddened further. Stammering, he said, I'm going to take a shower. Wash up nicely, I replied. Upon hearing this, Hua Yi dashed into the bathroom. I settled onto his bed, feeling utterly bored, and upon raising my eyes, I spotted a red fortune bag hanging in his open wardrobe. This fortune bag seemed to be the one Li Yujing had brought back from Yenshan Temple. After graduating high school, Hua Yi and I attended the same university, and it seemed he had lost contact with Li Yujing. He was fully preoccupied with opposing me, likely too busy for romance. I remarked that the number 5 player on the school basketball team was quite handsome, to which he retorted that my taste was poor. The very next day, he assembled a team to obliterate the school team. When the number 5 player nearly cried, Hua Yi stood beside me, mocking him. Is this your type? A crybaby? I commented on the muscular physique of the main player on the tennis team, and he dismissed my opinion as naive. The following day, he appeared before me in a tank top, occasionally lifting his shirt to wipe away sweat, even though it was winter. I envied others who received flowers on Valentine's Day. That day, I received a large bouquet of chrysanthemums from Hua Yi. A funeral for roses, and I, a funeral. Just as I pondered this, Hua Yi emerged, fidgeting. You should sleep. I'll work for a while, he said. I widened my eyes, refusing. Did he plan to earn money while I slept? I rushed towards Hui, arms outstretched to embrace him. No, you can't leave. Without allowing him to respond, I looked up at him with a pitiful expression and pleaded, Darling, stay with me. Hui said nothing and turned back into the bathroom.
Huh?
Hadn't he just showered? I set aside my concerns and quietly formatted his already open computer and locked the bedroom door, finally resetting the password to my birthday. Tomorrow morning. I must be the first to dash out to meet Shen Huichuan. After completing my tasks, Hui emerged from the shower, holding a hairdryer. Come here, you. Let me dry your hair, he said. I smiled and sat before him, feigning amnesia, relishing the opportunity to boss Hui around.
Hui.
This wind isn't strong enough. Hui, you missed a spot here. Hui, this section is still a bit damp. I was performing a melodramatic act. Yet Hui showed no signs of irritation, managing to soothe me completely. I felt drowsy in his embrace. Oh no, I had taken medication earlier and forgotten. The doctor prescribed something with a calming effect. I collapsed into Hui's arms. The figure behind me paused momentarily before I found myself placed gently onto the bed. Sensing that the person behind me was about to leave, I grasped his arm. Hui, don't go. I want to leave. You sleep, he replied. His body radiated warmth, a stark contrast to the slight chill of early autumn, and I unconsciously nestled against him. In my dreams, I heard Hui sigh. If only this were true.
What did he mean by that?
Surely, he couldn't be wishing for my genuine amnesia? The next morning, I awoke to find Hui missing. The bedroom door stood ajar. I hastily changed my clothes and rushed outside. Oh no, he must have slipped out to sign the contract with Shen Huichuan behind my back. I dashed downstairs, and in that fleeting moment as I grabbed my bag, I spotted Hui's figure in the kitchen. You're awake? He said, turning with a smile upon hearing the noise. He glanced at the bag in my hand, momentarily taken aback, before asking, Remembered something? Caught red-handed, I felt embarrassed to continue feigning amnesia. I straightened my posture and perched on a sofa, declaring, Well, you owe me for a day of amnesia. You pretended to be my boyfriend and toyed with me. 500 million, please. A hint of unexplainable disappointment crossed Hui's face. What's wrong? Do you think my demand is excessive? Suddenly, he turned to me. Su Yu, how about 24? 6 billion? Hui's sarcasm was a masterclass. Rather than directly stating I was asking for too much, he opted for this roundabout remark. 24, 6 billion, the value of the Hui Corporation, perfectly matched. I waved my hand dismissively. I'm not that greedy. I'll settle for 500 million. Hui sighed, refraining from arguing, and instead placed a dish on the dining table. Let us eat. With that, he ascended the stairs. Dressed in thin pajamas, he appeared rather pitiful. Suddenly, a thought struck me. I had changed the password to Hui's bedroom door, so how had he managed to leave? As I bit into a fried egg, the realization dawned upon me when I saw Lu Ma entering with a fingerprint scanner. So it could still be accessed via fingerprint recognition.
Miss Su.
The young master asked me to go buy something this morning, Lu Ma exclaimed, her delight evident. Good morning, Lu Ma, goodbye, I said, grabbing my bag and making a swift exit. Upon reaching the entrance of the Hui residence, I quickly dialed the driver next door. Uncle Wang, come pick me up at the Hui family gate. As I waited at the entrance, I felt a gaze upon me from behind. Turning around, I saw nothing but the curtains fluttering in the wind. However, my nearsightedness prevented me from discerning anything clearly. Uncle Wang arrived to pick me up, and after contacting the project manager, we soon reached the hotel where Shen Huichuan was staying. Upon seeing me, Shen Huichuan exhibited no unusual reaction. Instead, he glanced behind me. You came alone? Where's Hui? Didn't you both come together? Furrowing my brow, I wondered if he was waiting for us to gather, so he could raise the stakes in our competition. Shen Huichuan shrugged, seemingly puzzled. Aren't you both from the same company? Besides, when has the Hui Corporation ever competed with ours?
Huh?
There's no competition? I recalled hearing him say he intended to sign a contract with you yesterday. In response to my confusion, Shen Huichuan leisurely sipped his coffee and replied, It's true that Hui and I have been negotiating, but he's negotiating a partnership with you, claiming that your family has extensive experience and channels in this industry. He's helping me negotiate? Signing a contract with our company? Shen Huichuan remained unfazed. Isn't it natural to lend a hand for someone you care about? I was taken aback by Shen Huichuan's words, nearly doubting my hearing. Did he just say Hui liked me? liked me, yet sent me chrysanthemums on Valentine's Day? Shun Huichuan took a sip of his coffee, observing me with a half-smile.
Could it be?
It's been years. Hasn't Hui confessed yet? He liked you back in high school during the midterms. He even came to assert his claim. I was utterly bewildered. Had they shared experiences I was unaware of? On the day of the midterms, Hui had arrived early and seated himself in Shun Huichuan's spot. When Shun Huichuan arrived, he showed no signs of yielding, instead glaring at the newcomer. I heard you're dating Suyu? Care to explain? Shun Huichuan stood his ground. Why should I explain? Who are you to Suyu? Hui shot up, standing defiantly. I'm not just anyone to Suyu. I am Suyu's and she is mine. Shun Huichuan simply smiled faintly. The individual appeared astute, yet was, in reality, rather naive and not to be trifled with. Thus he inquired, do you harbor feelings for Suyu? Hui's eyes widened, and he stammered incoherently. What nonsensical claims are you making? It's the truth, came the reply, leaving Shun Huichuan both amused and perplexed. This person, both naive and inexplicably endearing, continued, Hui. Let me be unequivocal. I do not have any affection for Yu. Hui's gaze softened considerably, and Shun Huichuan, observing the rapid shift in his expressions, playfully teased. Why not ask Suyu if she likes me? Hui stood abruptly, clearly flustered. What is she to me? Why should I inquire? After Shun Huichuan's remark, disbelief lingered. Have you suffered from amnesia, Shun Huichuan? Or is there some memory-altering program abroad? Shun Huichuan, caught off guard while sipping his coffee, sputtered. Are you two truly so tongue-tied? Just go ahead and ask Hui, do you like me? After parting ways with Shun Huichuan, I instructed my subordinates to liaise with the Shun Corporation while I sought out Hui. My first approach was direct. Hey, do you have feelings for me? Two outcomes loomed ahead. Either he would dismiss me, mocking my vanity, or he would concede, laughing at my obliviousness for taking so long to realize it. In either scenario, I would inevitably face his derision, and I lacked the courage to confront the possibility of him responding with, I do not like you. I trusted Shun Huichuan's words only 80%, considering that Li Yujing remained a thorn in my heart. Lost in contemplation, I found myself at the base of the Hui building. A typhoon was on the verge of making landfall, and the tempest outside raged fiercely. My trench coat became drenched, and my high heels were speckled with fallen leaves. I felt utterly dazed. I should have been at home, enjoying snacks and watching television, yet here I was, questioning Hui over an unfounded concern. Even if I had once harbored feelings, they may no longer hold true. As I turned to leave, my wrist was seized, and a trench coat was draped over my shoulders. Looking up, I beheld Hui. His eyes reddened. His tearful gaze, coupled with a quivering voice, asked, Are you here to boast about your collaboration with Shun Huichuan, or to flaunt your budding romance? I did not respond but instead countered, Why are your eyes red? Have you been crying? Hui hastily wiped his face, attempting to deflect. I don't cry. It's just the wind. This typhoon is intense, causing my eyes to water. Is that a crime? He pursed his lips, his eyes becoming even more crimson. If you truly end up with Shun Huichuan, don't you dare tell me. That weakling is not even in my league. You've grown up before my eyes, and that pink diamond you've always coveted. I'll present it to you as a dowry. His voice dwindled, sounding pitiful. The pink diamond, which he had bid 5.2 billion for, had made my mouth water at the time.
Hui.
Why would a grown man bid for it? Do you have a penchant for pink? He cast a sideways glance at me and replied, Like it? I nodded, unable to conceal my desire.
EMNVS.
He chuckled, It's for my wife. Where did you conjure up a wife from? How do you know she likes it? He regarded me silently until, as I nearly forgot my question, he suddenly declared, She likes it. Now he was suggesting that the diamond was for me? I began to find a sliver of credibility in Shun Huichuan's words. When Hui pulled me into the building, I asked, Do you remember Li Yujing?
Hui Suinted.
Who is that? The school beauty from our high school, Li Yujing. After a long pause, he asked, Who? Do we even have a school beauty? I stared at him in disbelief. Li Yujing, you once gave her an umbrella, and you went to Yangshan Temple to pray for a lucky charm for her. Hui looked utterly bewildered. What umbrella? Why would I give her an umbrella? I went to the temple for. He trailed off with a sigh. Forget it. Discussing this is pointless. It's all in the past. Now that Shun Huichuan is back, if you wish to pursue him, simply wait for Su Shu and the others to return and visit him directly. Stop. I interrupted Hui, perplexed and irritated. It seemed he had misconstrued something. What am I developing with Shen Huichuan? A pure, revolutionary friendship from high school? Aren't you fond of him? You were upset when he left the country, and you admired that player number 5 in college who resembled Shen Huichuan. Later, you even liked that tennis player who wore number 17, the same as Shen Huichuan in high school. I stared at Hua Yi in astonishment. Did he possess such a vivid imagination? Why didn't he mention that I liked player number 5 because he, like Shen Huichuan, was male? I pointed to the security guard at the entrance. If I claimed I liked him, what would you say he shares in common with Shen Huichuan? He seemed unable to grasp my jest and began to ponder seriously. After a lengthy silence, he concluded, the color of the security uniform is somewhat similar to Shen Huichuan's attire. I looked at him as if he were foolish. Why not say I like them both because they can breathe? Hua Yi mumbled quietly, I can breathe too. I asserted seriously, I, Suyu, have never liked Shen Huichuan. You must have lost your mind to entertain such a notion. Hua Yi stood frozen, his expression a mix of surprise and delight, yet he struggled to contain himself. To be honest, I imagined he might wear a similar expression during a moment of constipation. As the wind howled outside, I pulled Hua Yi into the elevator, ascending to the 22nd floor, to his exclusive lounge. In retrospect, I had likely spent more time at Hua's company than my own. The fierce wind jolted me awake. As if clearing the fog from my mind, though I lacked absolute certainty, I had a palpable sense that Hua Yi harbored feelings for me. His red eyes were indeed a testament to his tears, and he had been consumed with jealousy over Shen Huichuan. Jealousy had brought him to tears. But how could he endure this? A ninja turtle? I pushed him into a chair, confining him between the armrests and the backrest. He looked at me with those red,
pitiful eyes, which excited me.
I yearned to tease him. Hua Yi, shall I introduce someone to you? I don't want anyone. He replied with surprising decisiveness. What type do you prefer? Innocent? Alluring? Male? Female? Ignoring his protest, I continued my inquiry. He attempted to rise to evade my questions but hesitated, trapped in my presence. Hua Yi's ears burned crimson, yet he dared not meet my gaze, only turning his face slightly. I reached out, firmly grasping his chin. In our childhood, I was quite delicate, but as we grew older and after our misunderstandings, I became somewhat spoiled, a trait he had indulged. I locked my eyes onto his.
Hua Yi.
Let me introduce you to a girl who is about my height, resembles me, and shares a similar personality. A flicker of hope crossed Hua Yi's eyes. Exactly the reaction I sought. My cousin, Suju, whom you know, looks quite similar to me and has a personality to match. We are quite alike. Hua Yi opened his mouth, but stubbornly turned his head away. Freeing his chin from my grasp, he stood, his eyes seemingly more red than before, pouting as he faced me. Suyu, what exactly is it about me that bothers you? My romantic pursuits and marital decisions, how do they affect you? His voice was slightly raised but not aggressive, underscored by a sense of restrained grievance. The office fell silent, with only Hua Yi's heavy breathing breaking the stillness. Suddenly, the door swung open, and the secretary entered with documents in hand. Hua Yi, towering over me, shielded me from view, rendering me invisible from the secretary's perspective. The secretary bowed her head, engrossed in the documents, oblivious to the unusual atmosphere in the room. She promptly announced, Mr. Hua, the materials are ready. I shall deliver them to the Shin family immediately. Miss Su's business will be secured, but do you think it's necessary to inform her of your efforts? Secretary Liu, a seasoned aide, was only entrusted with the most significant matters by Hua Yi. Hua Yi clenched his hands, and I leaned forward to catch a glimpse of the secretary. Secretary Liu. I am already aware, I replied. Liu's secretary paused, chuckling softly. Miss Su, knowing is not quite enough. Hua Yi turned to Liu's secretary, Uncle Liu. Please step out for now. We shall discuss work later. With a grin, Liu's secretary exited, but not before winking at me and gesturing towards Hui, then forming a heart shape with his hands. Moments later, the heart shattered, and he mimicked a crying face. His implication was clear. Hua Yi harbored feelings for me and thought I might pursue Shen Huichuan, leading to tears in the office. As Liu's secretary closed the door, he stifled a chuckle, unable to see Suyu's figure but catching sight of her shoes. He was clearly teasing. When would the boss get married and grant us a holiday? And here he was, an aging secretary still handling tasks for the Su family. Though Hua Yi's salary was generous, he yearned for a twilight romance. With Liu's secretary gone, my gaze fixated on Hua Yi, whose ears flushed crimson as he fidgeted with a pen, awkwardly attempting to explain. I'm not assisting you. I merely find your foolishness amusing. I fear you might squander Uncle Su's fortune. I maintained a stoic expression, feigning indifference. He rambled on about trivialities, citing familial bonds and convenient favors. However, as I approached him, reducing the distance to a mere fist's length, he abruptly fell silent. He retreated slowly until his back met the bookshelf, leaving him with no escape as I advanced.
What I called.
Lowering his gaze revealed how close we were. Why did you pretend to be my boyfriend yesterday? Hui's throat bobbed as he stared at me, eventually responding, Uncle Sue and the others were not home, and I feared that someone might take you away. I nodded. Still stubborn, refusing to admit you like me. Then what did you mean by give me a kiss to familiarize yourself with the taste? Hui's gaze darted to my lips, his mouth opening and closing, struggling to articulate a reason. I rose on my toes, gripping his chin. Are you craving me? In that instant, I sensed Hui's body stiffen, or perhaps harden. What do you mean by let me eat what's below and Yo-Yo, my wife?
Hui.
What secrets do you harbor? His hands, hanging by his sides, clenched tightly, his beautiful eyes fixed on me, as if 1,000 words were trapped within him. Yet, he remained mute. Look down, I commanded. He lowered his head, and our eyes locked, the air thickening with tension. Yo-Yo, Hui softly called my name. What do you want? An explanation, perhaps? The intensity in his gaze was almost searing, yet his eyes were captivating, even when he looked at a dog. I couldn't resist the urge to provoke him. Hui, I wish to date. I feel that Shenhui. My words were abruptly silenced by his kiss, blocking my voice in my throat. His tongue slipped in, and I felt utterly defenseless, melting into his embrace. As I nestled against him, his voice rumbled low and restrained in my ear. This is my feeling for you, Suyuyu. I have liked you since childhood, but I feared you wouldn't reciprocate. I was afraid that after confessing, we might not even remain friends, worried you might not like me. Suyuyu, I like you. Do not mention anyone else's name. If you wish to date, choose me. I pressed my lips together, informing him, look down. I have an answer for you. I rose on my toes, expressing that I thought Shen Huichuan was unsuitable for me, suggesting, Hui, let us date. Just as our lips were about to meet, the voices of my parents and his parents echoed from the hallway. This wind is fierce. If we hadn't purchased our tickets early, we certainly wouldn't have made it back. Hearing their arrival felt akin to being caught in an affair. Instinctively, I released Hui and pushed him away. However, he leaned against the cabinet, and in a moment of distraction, his head collided forcefully with the back of the cabinet. A flower pot perched atop it toppled down, striking his head. When our parents entered, he was unconscious. Merely 5 minutes into our confirmed relationship, Hui had lost consciousness. We rushed him to the hospital, where the doctor was puzzled to find me awake while Hui lay unconscious. Yet this time was different. The flower pot was exquisite Jingdezhen porcelain, and he had genuinely been knocked out. The doctor assured us it was nothing serious, possibly a mild concussion, and a topical ointment would suffice for the abrasion on his forehead. Once he regained consciousness, he was brought back home. The typhoon was so severe that nearly the entire city had shut down. Our parents deemed it prudent to stay together for mutual support, so we all remained at Hui's home. With our parents at home and lacking other engagements, the inevitable topic of marriage arose. The moment they broached the subject, I preemptively declared, please do not press. I have a boyfriend. Everyone was taken aback, including Hui, who stared at me in shock. Our parents had a good relationship, and given our childhood companionship, it seemed perfectly normal to be open about our romance. Why was he so astonished? Did he not want to go public? Furthermore, since waking, he had been fixated on my slightly reddened lips, which were not even kissed by him. I turned to Hui. Isn't that right, Hui? You know my boyfriend. Everyone's gaze turned to him standing at the door. Yet, he looked at me with a mixture of disbelief, hurt, and despair. Before I could comprehend, he grasped my wrist and led me upstairs. Dad, Mom, Uncle, and I need to have a word with Yo-Yo. Wait. Was there a need for a discussion about this revelation? Once in his study, he trapped me against the door, his eyes burning with intensity. His rough fingers brushed my lips. Confused, I stammered, Hua. He suddenly asked, is this also from him? Your boyfriend? I replied, huh? ISNT it from him? ISNT he my boyfriend? I nodded. Your boyfriend, I know him? Who is it? I replied, huh? Had Hua lost his memory? Wasn't he my boyfriend? Hua stood firmly before me as I waved my hand in front of his face. Hui, what is today's date? He answered the 17th, the day our parents went on vacation. In reality, it was the 24th. Did you know Shen Huichuan has returned? Hua Yi's pupils dilated. He has returned? Your boyfriend is him? At that moment, I was certain that Hui, after being struck, had lost a week's worth of memories. Our parents, ever the gossips, assumed Hui was here to pry into the identity of my boyfriend, and they all lingered by the door, which was unlocked, creating an awkward tableau. Yo-yo, what is your boyfriend like? My mother asked first. I glanced at Hui and smiled. He's wonderful, standing at 185 meters. Hui's expression darkened. Tall? That certainly doesn't mean he's handsome. When will you bring him home to meet us?
My father suggested.
Hui's face darkened further. We've only been dating for a short while. The relationship isn't stable yet. It's better to keep it private. They bombarded me with questions, and I answered each one, countering Hui's objections. He insisted that relationships should remain undisclosed for at least 6 months. He adamantly declared that no man should take advantage of me and that my father must accompany me on all dates. Additionally, there would be physical fitness tests, a 1,500-meter run, and a 5-kilometer endurance drill. My father, a classic doting dad, wholeheartedly agreed with Hui, deciding he must act as a protective presence throughout. I looked at Hui, giving him a thumbs up for this idea. Hui still had a slight headache. After applying some ointment, he went to bed, but not before earnestly warning me, men are all liars. Do not let yourself be deceived. The following day, after the typhoon had passed, the weather was bright and pleasant. As I rose from my slumber, I noticed Hui standing bashfully at my doorstep. What brings you here? I inquired. Hui, with his head downcast, resembled a shy bride. You, he began, upon waking this morning, it seems I remembered that, well, your boyfriend is me. He presented me with a box of my favorite soup dumplings, urging me to share a meal with him. I gazed at him, feeling somewhat unaccustomed to his overt attentiveness. In the past, he would merely knock at my door, holding dumplings and lazily proclaiming that he had eaten enough and would leave the leftovers for me. I would consume a few at the dining table, finding them a bit too rich, and would leave the rest, while Hui would take my chopsticks and continue eating. His actions had never particularly bothered me, but now, his cheerful demeanor made me feel slightly uneasy. Previously, after indulging in dumplings, he would chide me for my choice of cat food, scolding me for wasting food. Just as we were enjoying our meal, my father descended from upstairs and inquired about my plans for the day. I cast a glance at Hui, replying a date. In that instant, I witnessed Hui's eyes light up, and I fancied that if he had a tail, it would surely be wagging in delight. Quite endearing, indeed. My father, upon hearing this, declared, I'm coming along. Hui shot up, questioning my uncle. A date? Why would you come? My father, perplexed, retorted, Didn't you say yesterday that I should accompany you on her date? We cannot allow the boy to take advantage. In that moment, I could almost envision Hui's ears drooping in disappointment. Oh dear, a dejected little puppy. A short while later, my father, Hui, and I found ourselves in a car. My father scrutinized Hui, remarking, Why are you tagging along? You should let Yu and her boyfriend enjoy their date while you head to work. Ultimately, Hui was unceremoniously ejected from the vehicle, and I looked back at him from outside, feeling a pang of sympathy. I stifled a laugh and texted him. You mentioned yesterday that a relationship should remain undisclosed for at least half a year. From the rearview mirror, I saw Hui's expression crack into a smile. With Hui absent, I knew there would be no date, so I concocted a reason to drop my father off at work and went to find Hui. Before I even entered the office, I heard him sighing inside. I pushed the door open and called out to him. Hui? He beamed and rushed toward me, resembling a playful puppy. He pulled me into the office, burying his head in the crook of my neck, and plaintively said, Will you give me a title? I waved my hand dismissively, replying, You said it yourself. Our relationship is unstable, thus it cannot be made public. Hui and I had been secretly dating for half a year. On New Year's Eve, our families gathered for a celebratory dinner. After my parents learned of our relationship, they began to pressure Hui, who found himself at a loss for words, silently enduring the unspoken burden. Beneath the dining table, he would discreetly hold my hand. My father would chide, Don't seek help from your sister. She has a partner. What about you? When will you bring home a daughter-in-law? Hui gazed at me, and I smiled back, teasing, Yes, Hui, when will you bring your sister-in-law home? After dinner, we took a stroll. My father, still yearning to meet his future son-in-law, remarked, Little one, when I finally meet him, I shall put him through some rigorous training. He must be well hidden. Hui blinked and said, Uncle, is that really necessary? My father insisted, Of course it is. We cannot let someone so wonderful as Yu be easily taken away. Hua Yi bore a comical expression of distress, unable to articulate his thoughts. I interjected, "Dad, uncle, my boyfriend is exceptional, tall, handsome, considerate, financially capable, refined, and he dotes on me. He is the best boyfriend in the world." Hua Yi, listening to my praises, could not suppress his laughter. Just as he was chuckling, my father turned to him and said, "What are you laughing at? This isn't about you, you single dog." After our walk concluded, Hua Yi and I ignited fireworks in the yard while our parents retreated indoors to watch the Spring Festival Gala. The atmosphere was delightful, and as the fireworks erupted around us, we held hands and began to kiss. Unbeknownst to us, my father had seen us kissing at the door, his eyes wide with shock. Soon, my father summoned my mother, who in turn called my father, and before we knew it, we were being interrupted. As we concluded our kiss, my parents pulled me away, admonishing, "You, infidelity is wrong." Hua Yi was similarly taken away by his parents, who chastised him. "Hua Yi, it is shameful to be a third wheel." Later, after Hua Yi explained the situation, they finally believed that he was indeed the primary partner. My father produced a stopwatch, proclaiming a race of 1,500 meters. My father chuckled and said to him, "There's no need for such theatrics." My father fixed his gaze on Hua Yi, saying, "We brought you home." Hua Yi immediately grew serious and declared, "I will run 3,000 meters. Eventually, after our marriage, Hua Yi presented me with a fortune pouch. "Su Yu, this was meant for you back in high school. I sought it from Yangshan Temple and have kept it hidden until today." I replied, "Back then, you couldn't even run 800 meters. I was so frightened, I specifically prayed for it and never gave it to you." I then asked Hua Yi, "That day it rained, and you didn't wait for me. Instead, you gave an umbrella to Li Yujing. Why?" Clearly, Hua Yi also remembered that day vividly. "You didn't speak to me at all. Shen Huichuan even patted your head." I was furious. It started to rain, and I had no umbrella. So I bought one for you. When I returned, you had already left with Shen Huichuan, so I gave the umbrella to someone else. I can't recall who it was. I retorted, "You could have used the umbrella to come home. Why give it to someone else?" Hua Yi held me, looking aggrieved. But I was crying. If I had used the umbrella, others would have noticed. Hua Yi, a bit melodramatic, yet undeniably thoughtful. After our marriage, Secretary Liu officially began his duties in our household, adding a vibrant chapter to his nearing retirement life. However, I must teach my son to express his feelings openly, otherwise, she would remain unaware. The end. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, please remember to like and subscribe. Until next time, farewell.